Mhm. All right, we have a younger kids question in here.
Okay.
My 3-year-old melts down at night if I am not the one to put him to bed at night. Help.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and that's the thing, right? Like you are not always going to have the capacity to be the one. You might not want to. It might not work for you. I mean, I'm a traveling parent for work, so I'm not always an option. And there's so much messaging out there that I think can make you feel like you're a crappy parent if you don't just be like, okay, I'll do it or I'll stay. And it's just not always a reality for you to be the one to be there. So let's talk about what to do when that's not going to be a reality. When you are going to say, like, yeah, no, I need to tap out because I've been with these kids and I am fried by bedtime.
I
And
feel
if I'm
like
not going to be who I want to be.
you kind of just went through this with Beans. Do you want to talk about like the process that you guys went through?
Yeah, so I used to do her bedtime. She is how you say obsessed with me. And she
Mama?
mama,
Mama!
mama, I'm like, I'm touching you. You're in my lap. Um and so for us, what we shifted first was because I still nurse her. So we would start bedtime downstairs all together. We're like reading books. I would nurse her downstairs, get her jammies and sleep sack on. And then we would say goodnight, and Zach would carry her up to bed, and she would do the rest of the bedtime routine with him, and he would put her down for bed. The first week of it, she screamed. She hated it. And she's a human who needs to express. And so when she's having a hard time or something, or she's mad about something, she wants to yell or cry. She needs to get it out of her
Hmm.
before she can move through it. Seiji's not that way. He and Zach both will go like inward more, where they're like, I just need silence and calm for a bit to move through it. Sometimes he'll for sure still cry or yell, but she always needs to get it out before she can move on. And that's how
Hmm.
I am too. And so like I get that. But so she'll scream and yell, and he would carry her up and do the rest of the bedtime routine and validate for her, like, you wanted mama to come do bedtime. Mama's going to, and he would say a specific thing, do the dishes or make lunches for tomorrow or whatever, instead of like, mom just doesn't want to do this anymore with you. So I'm dabbing it. He was like, yeah, mom's gonna go and do the dishes, or she's going to make lunches for tomorrow for school, and I'm going to help you with bedtime. And just establishing that new routine took about a week. And then she
Hmm.
came to expect it. And now we're at the place where she'll wave to me or blow me a kiss as he's walking away with her. And she knows the routine. She knows she's safe. She knows she's going to see me tomorrow. And when we look at this as they get older, it's, I think, really helpful to do pre-teaching with them. So with a 3-year-old, I would say, oh man, I've noticed at bedtime, you love it when I'm there. I am going to at bedtime be doing X, Y, and Z. Mommy or dada or whoever is the other parent is going to help you with bedtime. Here's what they're going to do. Let's make a plan together. We're going to read 2 books. Do you want to pick the books out with me and then they can read them with you? Or they're going to sing 2 songs. What songs do you want to choose? And they get to kind of co-create this bedtime routine. Dreams are that you are using a visual aid for them where they can see the things, and it doesn't have to be fancy. You can write it on a piece of paper. You can draw something Pictionary style. It doesn't have to be beautiful. Whatever is helpful for them to see, like, okay, we did this part. Here's what's coming next. And if they can like check it off or kind of cover it up in some capacity to see like then what's next. And then knowing that for the other person, the other adult who might be tapping in here, for them to have a plan for what to do, because it's really the hardest I find for that person,
Hmm.
that they are now in the room with a dysregulated child who's screaming that they want the other parent.
Hmm.
And so being able to have a plan for that person of like, what's coming up for you? What are you going to do to calm? What's your response going to be? What if they try to run out the room? Like what's the plan in place ahead of time so that they feel ready to tackle that
Yep.
and to know like at what point would you shift? Like for us, it's always been if there's a distress cry, I'm going to tap in. And that for me means like, we need to build a few more supports into the routine because we're getting to a point of distress.
Mm-hmm.
Or we need to work on the relationship with child and the other parent in order to have success in this process so that they know this is a safe person too.
Mm-hmm.
But really knowing that I have no expectation that you'll pre-teach and they'll be like, okay,
Okay.
have fun doing the dishes.
Right.
Well, see you later.
Yeah. Yeah. Abel wanted me for bedtime forever. And there was a time
Wanted
where
past tense.
still does. But now he's flexible. Like
Yeah.
there was a time when he was a young toddler where it was like a lot of going into distress when Cody was trying to do bedtime. And then when he was an older toddler, like sometimes it worked and other times it didn't. And there were times where like Cody would have to sit on the floor in front of the door because Abel would be trying to come out. And now we're at a point where like I'm like, all right, bud, I'm not going to be home for bedtime tonight, or I'm going to be doing this at bedtime tonight. So dad will be putting you to bed, and he'll still sometimes cry or say like, I don't want that. I want you to do my bedtime, whatever. But when it actually comes down to it, he is able to move through it okay. But I think like also outlining that sometimes it's not like an instantaneous thing
Yeah.
and there are ebbs and flows. If Abel's had a really hard day, and then on top of that, I'm like, well, I'm not going to be there at bedtime. That's a lot harder for him than if he's had a pretty regulated day. And then I'm like, hey, dad's going to do bedtime with you. I think just having that flexibility in mind of like, it can be a little hairy for a bit.
Yeah. And I think looking at like, who is this kid too? And like, how do they like to go down?
Mm-hmm.
And like with Sage, whenever we've done any sleep work with him, we always stayed in the room with him. That like even if somebody else was putting him down or he was when he was learning to fall asleep without nursing or without his pacifier or whatever, anytime there were sleep changes, we stayed with him to fall asleep because that's how he feels safest. He doesn't want anyone to talk to him. He mostly didn't want you to touch him. He went through a phase where he wanted your hand to be on his body, not moving, merely so that he knew that you were there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and but he wanted somebody in the room, and it is different for every kid. Now he's to the point where he feels so safe in his routine. You'll go through it and he'll kick you out. He'll be like, all right, I'm gonna turn off the lights, and then do you want me to tickle your arm? He's like, yeah. And then you start tickling his arm. He'll say, you can go now, and just kicks us out.
You're dismissed.
Uh, and it took us till 4.5 or whatever to get to that point of just creating consistency and safety in the routine. One thing around sleep also, as kids get older, it's the only time where we're like, we're not going to see you for like 11 or 12 hours and you're going to be by yourself in a space, right? Like there's not another time in the day where we're like, well, see you later. You're by yourself for 11 or 12 hours. Good luck. And you're safe. You're fine. I know I wouldn't let you do this if you were awake. Just be by yourself for 11 or 12 hours, right? So it's like also sleep is just vulnerable. That
Totally.
if you are not feeling safe or comfortable and then you're like, I'm going to be asleep, your brain's like, over my dead body, are we falling asleep right
Right.
now? And so really looking at like, how do we foster safety and connection and trust in relationship? And a lot of that's going to happen outside the moment of saying things like, hey, I noticed you've been feeling nervous to go to sleep. Sometimes when I'm feeling nervous, I notice my heart's beating so fast and my hands start to kind of clench and open and close. And I get a little sweaty sometimes, or sometimes I start to cry. And usually that means that my amygdala has turned on, the part of my brain that says, oh no, you're in danger. And I can remind it, I'm safe. And some things that help me feel safe are, and we can list some things out that might be helpful for them too. Of like, sometimes I like to squeeze my fists and let them go and say, I'm safe. Sometimes I like to draw on my arm with my finger and draw a picture and remind myself, I'm safe here. giving them some tools and strategies to regulate their nervous system if you aren't there as a part of bedtime,
Mm-hmm.
to remember that they are safe in this. And it's so our goal isn't that kids never feel nervous or anxious or scared or disappointed. It's that they have tools to recognize it and move through it.